Hey, all right, we are live on TN Tech Talk. We are live on Periscope as well. Hello to everybody out there on Periscope.
How's it going?
I'm your host, George Rosenthal, and today my guest is Aaron Oliver. He is a senior network infrastructure engineer, which is a long title, but it also means he's one of the smartest people in the room. That's what that means.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, today we're going to be talking about backups versus disaster recovery. And everybody thinks, well, I have a good backup. Everything's totally fine. I have nothing to worry about on my network. But that truly isn't what a disaster recovery plan is. So without further ado, we want to jump right into the content to save some time here. Let's go right into backups, Aaron. So when people think there's a backup, they have a backup and they have this comfort level that they're fine. What consists of a backup? What could different types of backups be?
A lot of users, they kind of think of backups as your drop boxes or your carbonite, things like that, and you use them to back up your home computers. The problem is we see a lot of businesses using that as well, and it's a good addition to a good backup strategy for a business. It's just not the end-all, be-all for that. So we see a lot of customers that either have, the drop boxes, the carbonites. They also buy like a Western Digital hard drive that comes with some free backup software on it. And those drives, they're great. They back up your data, and you've got a copy of it if your computer dies. But for business purposes, it may not be the best solution. For home, it's great. I mean, for most home users, they're not doing anything. So if somebody's gone that far on their home computer, it's a good thing.
I've heard some stories from you in the past about not necessarily clients, but folks that are out there. They think they're safe because they're rotating tapes.
Right.
So,
if you're rotating tapes or if you're rotating disks, I mean, it's a good practice if that's all you've got or all you've ever had. But most folks these days are doing some sort of a backup with either rotating disks or they're kind of doing away with that and everything's going to the cloud. So there's no reason not to keep all of your revisions of your data out in the cloud. And if you're paying for a good service, in the event of a big failure, you can almost always have the service itself ship you a drive with all your data on it. And it's much more reliable. You don't have to worry about, hey, I left this drive in the car, this tape in the car, and the sun melted the discs, or something silly like that. Yeah, instead of just a backup, what we really need is you need some sort of a disaster recovery plan as opposed to just a backup when you're a business user. So
that's great. That's perfect segue into what is a DR. So you hear the phrase DR once in a while. If you got an IT goat like Mike has here, Bill E. Goat, you'll have them saying, oh, don't worry, we have a DR. So what is a DR? What should a business owner be looking for in a DR? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, a DR plan, it should be basically a multi-tiered approach to backup. So you should have some sort of a file and a folder backup, to one of these external hard drives or one of these devices, just like you would in your home computer, or using Dropbox or Carbonite, something like that to back up, your individual user files or maybe your individual PCs.
Yep.
But on your servers and things like that, you really ought to have some sort of an image-based backup software. That's kind of step one is let's get an image base. And what an image is going to do is if your server were to die, you can take that external hard drive, plug it into any other piece of hardware, or even on a workstation, create a virtual machine of your server, and then restore your server with all of its settings, all of your applications, all the configurations, right back to a virtual machine or another piece of hardware that you can run down the street and pick up until your hardware gets repaired. So, that's kind of step one. What we really push to customers, and we see a lot of clients and other MSPs going this route too, is we push backup appliances. And so what the backup appliance does, it does these image-based backups to a server. And this server actually keeps basically live copies of your server in the background. So in the event that your server fails, we can go into this device and flip a switch, and up comes all of your all of your servers in the form of a virtual machine.
Yeah.
And your return to operation might be 2 or 3 hours as opposed to days or weeks or what have you. And these are kind of the true disaster recovery devices. I mean, they cover all of your bases for file folder. They cover your image backups. And then they also, like I said, they upload these entire things to the cloud.
Oh, yeah.
So then in the event that your building burns down, the service will just ship you a whole nother device with all of your backups on it overnight. So
it's amazing.
Next night, you can be in your basement with all of your employees sitting there. We plug this thing in, fire it up, and you're at least doing business until you find another space. or until your insurance money kind of kicks in and gets you guys rolling again.
If you haven't had somebody evaluate your network recently, we offer a free network assessment. We can come out to your office. It costs you absolutely nothing for us to take a look at your network, provide you a full report of what you have, whether or not your backups have been even validated, and then we can show you how you can actually set up a disaster recovery plan. And whether you use us or not, we would love to talk to you about that, because these days, it isn't a tornado or a fire. It takes one part of a cheap hard drive made in China to ruin your business for a week, if not more.
Right.
Again, Aaron, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insight and going through backups and disaster recovery.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks so much. And again, thanks so much for all of your time. We look forward to seeing you guys next week.